The desire to lie down all day isn't laziness. It's an active ancestral code. In the next few minutes, you're going to learn a specific somatic practice that restores the will to get up, not through motivation or mental strength, but by direct vibrational reconnection with the nervous system. There is a primitive signal your body is sending right now, in this moment. Whenever the soul detects a rupture between the life you live and the purpose you came here to fulfill, that weight on your chest, that rigidity in your abdomen, that impossibility of lifting your spine, none of that is clinical depression or a character flaw. It's somatic language that needs to be translated before it becomes a permanent block. If you close this video now, you'll keep interpreting as illness what is, in truth, an inner calling, and the body will repeat this signal with increasing intensity until it is finally heard. The code that's trying to reach you will be deciphered here at the exact intersection between modern neuroscience and ancestral Hermetic wisdom. This uncontrollable urge to remain horizontal is your body activating the dorsal branch of the vagus nerve, the most archaic survival system you carry. It's not the muscle that failed. It's not the mind that gave up. It's the intentional shutdown of will when the life you sustain has lost resonance with the soul's creative field. The nervous system detected an internal rupture and executed a preservation protocol, freezing to reorganize frequencies that cannot be processed in motion. You will leave this state not by force, but through direct somatic reconnection, a 3-step guided practice that reactivates vagal tone and returns presence to the body without violence. Ancient healing traditions knew how to name this phenomenon precisely. They called it the silence of the temple, the moment when the body altar refuses to keep carrying empty offerings, when there is no true fire inhabiting the movement, when action has become an automaton disconnected from purpose. The temple closes its doors until the priest returns with a living flame. The corpus hermeticum described the physical body as the sacred vehicle of the soul in matter, and taught that when the vehicle stops, it isn't broken, it is demanding an immediate review of the root. Stephen Porges mapped 3 circuits of the autonomic nervous system and revealed that the dorsal, the most primitive of them, is only activated when the organism detects inescapable threat, and here is the secret no one told you, when it detects chronic inauthenticity. Living misaligned with your own axis is interpreted by the body as lethal danger. Peter Levine demonstrated that this tonic immobility isn't giving up, it is deep cellular reorganization. The body freezing to process traumas and ruptures that cannot be integrated while you are still in action. The weight you feel on your chest, the rigidity that blocks the solar plexus, the breath that doesn't descend. All of this is a sign that something inside you is being dismantled to be rebuilt in another vibrational register. Collapse is not an end, it is incubation. The body isn't punishing you, it's teaching you what the mind refused to listen to. The exit from dorsal collapse is not through motivation or willpower. Both depend on a system that is temporarily offline. You cannot think your way back to presence. The exit is somatic. It happens in the body, through the body, in the language the body understands. The ritual of the return of presence is a sequence of 3 integrated movements that restore communication between the 3 centers of somatic intelligence: brain, heart, gut, and reactivate ventral vagal tone. The system that allows engagement, connection, presence and the will to live. You're going to do it now, while you're still lying down, while the body is still asking you to stay where you are. Don't get up yet. Listen first. Feel first. Return first. These 3 movements are the bridge back. They are the code the body recognizes as safety, as presence, as an invitation to re-inhabit the temple that was temporarily abandoned. First movement, conscious touch to the solar plexus. Lie down in a place where you can remain without being interrupted for a few minutes. Place your right hand over the solar plexus, the region between the sternum and the navel. At the center of the upper abdomen, the pressure should be firm, but without squeezing. Don't massage, don't rub, just hold. Keep your hands still, as if you were announcing to the body, I'm here, I'm present, I'm returning. The solar plexus is the point where the vagus nerve branches and where will resides in the body. When it's blocked, there is no creative impulse. Conscious touch sends a direct signal to the nervous system. There is someone inside the body again. Remain like this for 3 to 5 minutes, until you feel warmth or a slight pulse under your hand. This is the first sign that the system is responding. Don't force anything, just observe, just feel. Second movement, ascending wave breathing. Keeping your hand on the plexus, begin to breathe slowly through your nose, taking the air to the region of your hand, not to the chest. Imagine the breath as a wave that rises from the base of the spine to the top of the head. Inhale to a count of 4. Exhale to a count of 6. Don't force the rhythm. Let it arise naturally, as if the body were remembering how to truly breathe. This wave-like breathing reactivates the diaphragm, frees the locked plexus, and restores flow between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. The prolonged exhale signals safety to the body. It says, there is no threat. You can release the freeze. You can return to inhabit this space. Continue for 3 to 5 minutes. You will feel the abdomen soften, the breath descend deeper, the weight on the chest begin to dissolve. Don't rush. Let the body lead the pace. Third movement, anchoring of the gaze. Still lying down, choose a fixed point on the ceiling or on the wall in front of you. Fix your gaze on that point for 2 to 3 minutes, without forced blinking, but also without tensing the eyes. Visual anchoring activates the spatial orientation system and sends the brain the message, I know where I am. The world has a structure. I can move within it. This simple movement reconnects you to the physical space around you, breaking the state of dissociation that accompanies dorsal shutdown. Continue until you feel that something has changed, a subtle vibration in the body, a slight impulse, a sense that presence has returned. You will know when it's time to get up. The body will let you know. After completing the 3 movements, get up slowly, not in a rush, not with effort. Get up because something inside felt its time. If the body asks for more time, respect it. Movement now won't be reactive. It will be responsive. That is the difference between surviving and living. When you stand, it won't be because the mind ordered it, but because the body felt that presence has returned and that now it's possible to inhabit verticality again. The impulse doesn't come from outside. It comes from within, and that changes everything. The solar plexus locks when the body detects that you are living a life disconnected from purpose. This is the center of will, the point where the creative force manifests as action. Without an active plexus, there is no impulse, there is no direction, there is no inner fire to sustain movement. The breath shortens when the bridge between the conscious and the unconscious is broken. It gets stuck in the chest, unable to descend to the abdomen, unable to connect the brain to the heart and the gut. And the spine loses strength when the axis between heaven and earth, between spirit and matter, is deactivated. The body literally asks to lie down because the vertical channel has been switched off. These three signs, locked plexus, short breath, spine without strength, are the somatic language of refusal. They are the body altar saying, I will no longer receive offerings that carry no presence. I will no longer sustain movements that have no soul. I will no longer pretend everything is fine while you live disconnected from what truly matters. This is not a random collapse. It is a conscious refusal. It is the temple closing its doors until you, the priest, return with the true fire. The body isn't punishing you, it is teaching you. It is saying that without presence, there is no movement. Without soul inhabiting flesh, there is no life. And as long as you don't listen, as long as you try to get up by force, by external motivation, by the pressure of obligations, the body will keep laying you down with increasing weight, with increasing frequency, until you finally understand that the problem isn't getting up. The problem is being disconnected while standing. When the body lays you down, it is inviting you to descend to the underworld of your own existence to find what was buried. The original creative impulse, the extinguished spark, the true will that was replaced by empty obligations. This invitation is not optional. The body will repeat the signal until it is heard, and each time you ignore it, the immobility deepens. The temple closes its doors more tightly, will disappears completely, and there you remain, lying down, unable to name what is happening, only feeling the weight of something the mind can't translate, but which the body knows perfectly. The ritual you just practiced reconnects the three centers, because the nervous system needs to feel there is someone inhabiting the body again. The touch on the plexus announces presence. The wave-like breath signals safety. The anchoring of the gaze tells the brain that the world has structure and that you can move within it. These three signals together are the code the body was waiting for to release the freeze and allow life to flow through you again. This shutdown protocol you are feeling now is not exclusively yours. Epigenetics has revealed that patterns of immobility can be inherited if your ancestors survived through shutdown during wars, famine, oppression, violence. The nervous system carries that memory recorded in the cells. The body repeats what wasn't resolved until you, consciously, break the cycle. This means the weight you feel may not be only yours. It may be a survival strategy that crossed generations and now manifests in your body as if it were your only option. Carl Jung called this territory Negredo, the first phase of the alchemical process, where everything false rots so that true can germinate. In the Red Book, he described his periods of creative immobility as descents into the realm of the dead, places where the soul withdraws to process what waking consciousness cannot integrate. You are alive, but you are not present. You are breathing, but you are not inhabiting. You are awake, but you are not awakened. And the body knows this. The body always knows. The most common trigger for this shutdown is not an acute trauma, but chronic misalignment, living a life the body does not recognize as yours. The soul detects the betrayal. The body responds with immobility. When you wake up in the morning and the body asks you not to get up, it's not because you slept poorly or are sick. It's because the nervous system is saying, I will no longer sustain a life that carries no meaning. I will no longer carry you in a direction that isn't yours. And as long as you don't listen, the body will keep speaking louder and clearer each time, until you finally stop and listen. Externally, this is read as apathy, procrastination, isolation. But internally, it is an ancestral emergency protocol. The organism froze so as not to break completely. When the dorsal branch is activated, the body executes a protection sequence. The heartbeat slows. Blood pressure drops. Digestion is suspended. Metabolism enters extreme conservation mode. Urgency disappears. Desire goes out. The will to act no longer exists, not because you chose to give up, but because the nervous system switched off the circuits that generate the vital impulse in order to preserve what remains of you while you process, in the silence of the lying body, what needs to be seen, felt, and finally released. Brenda spent 3 weeks unable to get out of bed. Not because she was sick. The medical exams were normal. Not because she was depressed. She had been on antidepressants for years, and they had always worked. The body simply refused. Every morning, when the alarm rang, she opened her eyes, saw daylight coming in through the window, and felt such a weight on her chest that the idea of lifting her spine seemed physically impossible. It wasn't laziness. It was as if someone had switched off the switch that connects will to movement. And there she stayed, horizontal, staring at the ceiling, feeling ashamed of something she couldn't control. At 45, Brenda was a financial analyst at a mid-sized consulting firm. She had worked from home since the pandemic, which at first seemed like an advantage. No one needed to see that she was spending most days lying down, but the reports began to be delayed. Meetings were cancelled, and the worst part wasn't disappointing her colleagues. It was the sense of betraying herself. Because Brenda wanted to get up. She wanted to work. She wanted to live. But the body had other orders. And every time she tried to force herself, the weight increased, the breath shortened, and she went back to bed defeated. It was a therapist friend who suggested that maybe it wasn't a psychological problem, but a somatic one. She sent the link to an online workshop on trauma and the nervous system. Brenda almost ignored it. She had tried so many things. But that afternoon, still lying down, she opened the laptop and watched. The facilitators spoke about the dorsal branch of the vagus nerve, about how the body can switch off the will when it detects that life has lost resonance with purpose. And for the first time in months, Brenda felt that someone was naming exactly what she was living. It wasn't failure. It was the body sending a code she didn't know how to decipher. During the guided practice, still lying in her own bed, Brenda placed her hand over her solar plexus. It was cold, rigid, like a concrete wall. But she followed the instructions. Wave breathing, gaze fixed on the ceiling, still hand. And after a few minutes, something began to pulse. Soft, almost imperceptible. It was as if a door locked for months had opened just a crack. She didn't get up at that moment. But for the first time in weeks, she felt that maybe it was possible. In the following days, Brenda repeated the ritual every morning, even before trying to get up, and something changed. On the third day, she managed to sit up in bed. On the fifth, she stood for a few minutes. On the 10th, she got up without effort, not because the mind ordered it, but because the body felt that presence had returned. The breath descended to the abdomen. The plexus softened. The impulse to move returned. And for the first time in months, Brenda wasn't just existing horizontally. She was standing, and that changed everything. What happened with Brenda now needs to be recorded in your own body as a somatic memory that can be accessed whenever shutdown threatens to return. The physical marker you're going to track is the breath that descends. When the plexus is active and presence has returned, the breath doesn't get stuck in the chest. It descends to the abdomen, slow, deep, effortless. That is the sign that the nervous system has left the freeze and returned to engagement. Observe this throughout the day. Is the breath descending or is it locked? The gesture signal you're going to use as an anchor is this. Place your right hand over your solar plexus. Inhale deeply to a count of 4, exhale to a count of 6, and say internally, I inhabit this body. Repeat 3 times. This takes less than a minute. And whenever you feel shut down beginning to return, when the weight on the chest comes back, when the will to get up disappears, when the breath shortens, return to this gesture. Hand on the plexus, deep breath, internal phrase. This is your point of return. This is the code that brings you back to your axis. And the more you repeat it, the more the body will recognize this path as the true pattern, because the body learns through repetition. And now you've taught it a new response. When the body lays you down, it doesn't defeat you. It summons you to listen to what became impossible to sustain while standing. Collapse is not failure. It is a language. It is the body saying it will no longer carry a life the soul does not inhabit. Shutdown is not an end. It is a recalibration. It is the nervous system interrupting movement to reorganize the internal vibrational field before the rupture becomes irreversible. The body doesn't punish. It teaches. And the deepest lesson it has to offer is this. Without presence, there is no life, only automated survival. And surviving is not the same as living. Peter Levine wrote, "Trauma is not in the event. It is in the nervous system that froze while trying to process what could not be integrated. The weight you feel on your chest, the will that disappeared, the immobility that took your body, all of this is the system trying to process something that got stuck. Something waking consciousness couldn't name, but which the body carries as a living somatic memory. And as long as you don't descend to that place, as long as you don't listen to what the body is trying to say, it will keep laying you down. Because that is the only way it has to make you stop and finally listen. The body is the last sacred territory where God still speaks directly. Not through dogmas, not through abstract concepts, but through pure sensation. The weight on the chest you ignore. The breath you forgot to feel. The solar plexus that locked and that you learned to pretend doesn't exist. God inhabits the flesh. And when the flesh refuses to move, it's not because God abandoned you. It's because He is forcing you to return to the temple you left empty. The body is the altar, and the altar does not accept offerings without presence. It closes the doors, it switches off the light, and it waits patiently until you finally return with the true fire. The journey back is not through the mind. It is through conscious touch, through the breath that descends, through the gaze that anchors. It is through the body that remembers, cell by cell, that someone is still in here, that there is still life possible, that there is still true movement waiting to happen. The ritual you learned today is not a relaxation technique. It is a protocol for reactivation of presence. It is the somatic path back to the creative axis. It is how the body says, I am still here. I can still inhabit this space. I can still move with soul. The body laid you down to teach you a truth you couldn't learn while standing. That will is not born of the mind, but of the inhabited solar plexus. That true movement does not come from obligation, but from presence that has returned to pulse in the flesh. And when you finally stand, you stand because the body remembered what it is to be alive, not surviving, alive. If this video resonated with you, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. This helps expand this knowledge to more people who are seeking to reconnect the body with presence. If you wish to directly support the production of more content like this and help the Inner Temple channel reach those who need this somatic wisdom, consider becoming a member. Your contribution keeps this mission of integration between science, body, and soul alive. I want to know, do you recognize this signal in your body? Write in the comments. The desire to lie down is my soul's call to awaken. This affirmation registers the somatic understanding you just received. Share this video with someone who needs to understand that the body doesn't fail, it teaches. And don't stop here. Click on the screen and dive into another transformative video from the channel. There are more body codes waiting to be deciphered. Remember, the desire to lie down is not the end of your strength. It is the beginning of your listening.